America's best days are yet to come. That's because conservatives like you know and live the values our great country was built on. The Heritage Foundation exists to make sure your voice is heard in the D.C. swamp each day, shining the light on a bright future. The Heritage Foundation stands for your values and won't give up the fight because they know you never will. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. I hope you're well. Hope you had a great weekend. Let's start this way. These judges in the Comey case, the magistrate and then the full-fledged district court judge, are making it impossible to even continue with this case, in my humble opinion. The access to the grand jury information, which is really rare, 6E, you can read the federal rules online, that's supposed to be secret, unless the issue is something untoward was done during the course of this indictment. There's no evidence of that whatsoever. And they're trying to kill this thing before it's even really going to trial. Is another example. The attack on the U.S. attorney there, that her appointment is problematic. This has nothing to do with, as an example, Jack Smith, the rogue special prosecutor. In the case of this involving the Eastern District of Virginia, what's happened there is the Senate has, at least in the past, has not been taking up these votes. They pushed a whole bunch of them through, but in the meantime, the president had appointed an acting U.S. attorney and then extended the appointment, and so they're attacking that. Now, this has been done in, I believe, 2 or 3 other U.S. attorney districts without judges attacking it because they figure that's a separate issue, but not the judge in this case who was appointed by Obama. And so you can see what's going on right outside of Washington in the Eastern District, just how awful this is. Absolutely awful. And then they keep lecturing the prosecution about the faults that they've made. And, you know, over at National Review, they've got their man, Andy McCarthy, former federal prosecutor, basically contributing to it every step of the way. I just strongly disagree with him on this. He's a good guy, don't get me wrong, but I strongly disagree. He seems very obsessed with this, but that's okay. You know, everybody's obsessed with something. But that's very problematic, what's going on in that courtroom to me and how these judges are ruling. It seems very obvious to me what's taking place. Then on this Epstein matter, I've told you folks from the very first moments, when it was being pushed by Marjorie Taylor Greene, when it was being pushed by little Nick Fuentes, when it was being pushing by Carlson this summer, when people were saying MAGA's going to implode. Even had bloated Bannon saying it when he's pretty much gone into the witness protection program because of all his communications with Epstein and the videos he won't release. But all that said, as I've told you over and over again, there hasn't been anything negative about Trump. Zero. And so the president today said, well, release it all then. Go ahead. He didn't want this as a distraction and so forth, and he also understood that there are many victims, and that many of them may not want their names released. And yes, there's actually victims who are not 5 and 8 years old, Megyn Kelly, and you can have victims who are 15 and 16 and older, and it's still pedophilia, and people can still be sold into sex slavery in effect. I don't know what the hell's going on here. I really don't. Are these legitimate views? The racism, the bigotry, anti-Christianity, anti-Semitism, basically trying to kind of take the edge off of pedophilia and so forth. I mean, what is going on here? Is this okay with you folks? It's not okay with me, and it's never going to be okay with me. But in any event, in the Epstein matter, there's nothing here that I'm aware of, that I can see. And the president is not acting like somebody who thinks there is, and the Biden regime didn't bring any leaks or anything of the kind. So I've told you from day one, we get caught up in these shiny objects, and we just keep chasing them. And a lot of this is due to these podcasters and phony influencers. They just need the hits, the grift. But a lot of it is also the corporate media, fronting for the Democrat Party. People are asking me, what do you think about what the president said about Tucker and Fuentes? Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you what I posted. Little Adolf Nick Fuentes will always be a disgusting, vile piece of S. Nobody can change that. And Carlson will always be a loathsome lowlife, giving little Adolf a megaphone, and for his own repulsive bigotry and anti-Semitism, and nobody can change that. Nobody can protect them from themselves, period. More importantly, this is not who the American people are or ever will be. Despite the bots, despite, the planted comments that go on and on and on, don't read those, don't even bother with them. We're the American people. We patriots are not going to surrender our country to these poisonous grifters and hate-mongers. Not now, not ever. They are actively trying to destroy our movement, promote themselves, hand the country over to these Marxist-Islamist leftists and the Democrat Party. Make no mistake about it. But we will collapse if they succeed. And they're not going to succeed. Because I know who you are, Mr. and Mrs. America. You're not racists. You're not bigots. You're not anti-Christianity. You're not anti-Semites. You root for America during wars, including World War II, our greatest generation. You don't embrace Hitler over Churchill. And I can go on and on and on. That's not us. That's not who we are. That'll never be us. It'll never be who we are. Red-blooded Yanks. We didn't fight these wars at great cost to surrender this country at home to the enemy within, whether Marxist, Islamists, or neo-fascists. And isn't it precious that these people say to me, the things you are calling us and saying about us is dangerous, when they're out there calling me, every Jew, every Christian, every black, every Hispanic, and on and on and on, the most horrendous things and the most horrendous names. All they have to do is stop. All they have to do is stop, but they won't. They can't. And all the politicians who get caught up with them, you will be defeated, and you will be defeated badly. And those politicians who have moral strength, embrace the American people and our founding, you will succeed. You will succeed. But nobody can fix Fuentes. Nobody can fix Carlson. Or for that matter, Kelly. Or Bannon. Or that clown Alex Jones, who already had his ass kicked in Connecticut by a judge, by families of little kids who were slaughtered in a horrific way in an elementary school. That's his head. That's where his mind is. These people are not difficult to confront. They're not. Because they're very evil. They don't understand you, the American people. I do. And I thank God every day that we, the American people, share the same morals, ethics, principles, beliefs, and value systems. I thank God every day for that. All right, we've got a lot to talk about. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. You know, for decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. You know why Alex Jones is broke? He loses defamation lawsuits are a big one. Because he's evil and he's nuts. He's got a line out there that I think it's Ben Shapiro and me or somebody and me. No, it's Josh Hammer and me. Did you know that we are Israeli spies who want to put hits out on individuals, Mr. Producer? The problem is the guy doesn't have any money. There's nothing left. There's nothing left. And Tucker's brother, I think his name is Buckley. Everybody's named Buckley over there, which is kind of odd. I don't think William Buckley would appreciate it. That I and other Jews who support Israel should register as foreign agents with the Department of Justice. Now that's pretty precious, isn't it? Given all their support for Qatar and Arab countries, but this is what goes on. And then if you push back, it's, oh, you're going to cause harm. No. These are the people who are causing harm. These are the dangerous people. Little Ada Fuentes, the gropers. They're not going to intimidate me, and they're not going to intimidate you or anybody else. They're just not. Now, I want to tell you one other thing, and then we're going to move on. Marjorie Taylor Greene is now accusing President Trump of all kinds of stuff. Blames Trump for pizza hoax harassment, pipe bomb threats, threats on her life. Now she's been trashing Trump and stabbing him in the back and going on The View and going here and going there. And he pushes back, and That's how she reacts. That whole cabal does the same thing. The same thing. But people aren't going to just sit around and take this. They're not going to do it. I'm proud of how people are reacting. Those who are reacting in a positive and forceful way, those who are reacting in a moral way, in a legitimate and civil way, who've had enough. Had enough. We didn't elect racists and bigots and anti-Semites and people who trash Christians and all the rest of it. In fact, these people have never run for anything. They've never ever done anything. All they've ever run are their mouths. That's it. That's it. They've never run legal foundations. They've never run campaigns. They've ever served, taken time off from grifting, whether in the military or whether for a cause, the Tea Party cause, the Convention of State cause, the Reagan administration, whatever it is, the Trump administration. No. Just look at their backgrounds. Look at who they are. If you want to waste your time, actually. You know, I've about had it with Michelle Obama, too. What the hell has Michelle Obama ever done? What has she ever done? I'm quite serious. What has Michelle Obama done? What did she do before she became First Lady? She had one of those political jobs in Chicago. I remember that. Look, the truth is the truth. She never created a business, but there are multi-billionaire businesses run by leftists who just can't throw enough money at the Obamas. Even now. She's got a book coming out, or a book that's come out. I don't even know if she's written it. Most of these people do not write their books. And by the way, of the left and the right, most of them do not write their books. But she'll sell a ton of them, making tens of millions of dollars. Netflix, they made tens of millions of dollars. Doing what exactly? And other endeavors, quote unquote, making millions and millions. They're worth what, $100 million, $150 million? I don't know, but a lot. For what? And all she does is complain. And all she does is use the race card, quite frankly, and use the attack male card. And Americans are too stupid. They're not ready to elect a woman. So you all voted against Kamala Harris because you're not ready to elect a woman. And you and I know damn well that we don't care about that, not for a second. We're not Fuentes. We're not those people. That if there's a Margaret Thatcher running or a Golda Meir running or an Indira Gandhi running or somebody like these were wonderful, incredible leaders of their country. We back women all up and down the election ballot. Winsome Sears, black woman, running for Virginia governor. Democrats didn't back her. They backed a relatively wealthy white woman. Did Michelle Obama come to Virginia and campaign for Sears? Of course not. I'm sick of her, to be perfectly honest. I'm sick of the racism. I'm sick of the attitude about woe is me, poor Michelle. You know, you got people who are really struggling, including black people. And what is she doing? We're coming upon the 250th birthday of the United States, and it has me thinking, what will America look like 250 years from now? My friends at the Heritage Foundation want to know what you think. What policies should America prioritize? What principles should carry us into the decades ahead? As America enters a new golden age, Heritage recognizes that this is the time to take stock and to be intentional about how we shape the future of America. And they can't do it without your input. So please go to heritage.org/LEVIN and let them know what you think is important. Without patriots like you stepping up and speaking up for what you believe in, America as we know it can't survive for another 250 years. Please go to heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN. Take the survey on America's future future. This survey takes less than 10 minutes to complete, but it is critical for making sure that the America we pass on to future generations is an America we're proud of. Go to heritage.org/Levin today. That's heritage.org/Levin. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
You're listening to Denali, the Great One.
The Great One.
And you can call in now, 877-381-3811.
Here's Michelle Obama. Now look how condescending she is. Just listen to her and tell me how this rubs you. Seriously. Cut 24, go.
Do you think that impacts the room that we've made for a woman to be president?
Well, as we saw in this past election, sadly, we ain't ready. That's why I'm like, don't even look at me.
Okay, hold on. We ain't ready. We ain't ready for what? A woman is president? Now, how ridiculous is that? We ain't ready. By what measure? By Kamala Harris? That's the measure? We ain't ready? Go ahead.
Are lying. You're not ready for a woman. You are not. So
you're not ready for a woman. Really, she's such a turnoff to me. I turn her off, I turn her out. In so many ways, she's a phony. These books, an organic garden. You're right. Do they have an organic garden now? Building of the library in the middle of a park or close to a park, infuriating the neighborhood. Is she known for her great works, her good works out there? Maybe she does. I have no idea. But they've become enormously wealthy since leaving office. You know, that's the thing. Donald Trump was enormously wealthy going into office. They were jealous. They attacked him. They investigate him. They want to know what's going on. But look at this. And by the way, not just them. Al Gore, he's another one. All that climate change BS, which even everybody's going now, oh, ho-hum, ho-hum. Do you realize how many things you and I have been right about here on this program? Together, we, at our national town hall meeting. Everything from Marjorie Taylor Greene backwards to when we started. It's just common sense. Just call them as you see them. Just use your own human experience. Go ahead.
My time, you know, we got a lot of growing up to do, and there's still...
Yeah, we have a lot. I so resent this kind of condescending talk. It so disgusts me. We have a lot of growing up to do. Who's we? People are painted into a corner by propaganda like this. You hear all the applause, so it's obviously a friendly audience, the kind of audience Tucker Carlson only goes to, friendly audiences. Just incredible what she says. Go ahead.
Sadly, a lot of men who do not feel like they can be led by a woman, and we saw it.
No, you didn't see it. This is the dehumanization aspect of it. You see it on the neo-fascist right. You see it on the Marxist-Islamist left. You see it from people who are trying to pander, exploit, hustle. It's just grotesque. So men don't feel like they can be led by a woman. And what man is she talking to? Her husband? What's her experience with this, other than her ideology and propaganda? What's her experience with this? Men don't feel they can be led by a woman. Like I said, Republicans voted in droves for Winston Sears, a black woman. Michelle Obama didn't endorse her because she disagrees with her. Okay, I didn't vote for Kamala Harris, and neither did you, because we disagree with her. And what's the big deal, voting for a woman or not voting for a woman? If a woman is somebody we agree with, we'll vote for her. Apparently the Democrats won't, but you understand. First woman on the Supreme Court was a Reagan nominee, Sandra Day O'Connor. And he put a lot of women on the federal court before any Democrats did. That's the truth. You look through history, it's the Democrat Party that has held back women. It's the Democrat Party that has held back blacks. It's the Democrat Party that has held back Hispanics. It's the Democrat Party that did all these things. All of them. All of them. And I don't know what Barack Obama, what great things he did for women. I mean, the Democrat Party today stands for men in women's sports. Is that a good thing, Michelle? But she's not asked, is she? So Title IX of the Civil Rights Act is all but obliterated, which was put in there to make sure women had equal access to funding in colleges and universities and high schools and so forth for athletics. But now they have to compete against biological males. And you don't hear Michelle Obama complaining about that. Not a word, not a syllable. Why? She's so predictable. Her comments, they're not smart. They're utterly and completely predictable. They're applause lines, depending on the audience. That's what they are, applause lines. But this is what ticks people off. Why is she so angry? Why is she so accusatory? Why is she so bigoted in so many ways? She was First Lady of the United States. Obviously, couldn't be First Lady of the United States if a lot of white people didn't vote for her husband. Now, I didn't vote for a husband, not because he's a male or black, because he's a leftist. It's that simple. But still, a lot of people voted for her husband. She became First Lady. He won 2 terms. I mean, show the people some respect for the intelligence of the American people. The American people are not as she portrays them. They're not as Fuentes portrays them. They're not as Megyn Kelly portrays them. They're not as Tucker Carlson portrays them. They're not as Michelle Obama portrays them. These radicals, they're not. We're good people. We've come a long way, we the American people. We've been through a lot of battles. Political, economic, and military. Legal. We've been through a lot of battles. And we are a great country with a great people. And people keep trying to tear us apart. People keep trying to destroy us. People keep trying to divide us. Most of them are grifters or they're political hacks. They're not interested in the well-being of the American people. Do they sound like it? Because they're not. They're not. They're grifters. They're shock jocks. They're racists. They're bigots, anti-Semites, anti-Christian, whatever it is. Some of them are all the above. And they're applauded by the right audience. And they only speak to the audience who will applaud them. It's the only audience they will go to. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. You know, for decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. You know, America, if you had told me after 9/11 that we'd be selling our most advanced fighter jets to Saudi Arabia, I wouldn't have believed you. Would you have believed me, Mr. Producer? Our F-35s, they are the top of the heap. But Saudi Arabia is now our friend. Based on what exactly? I'm just curious. I would ask the 9/11 families, is Saudi Arabia our friend? Have they ever apologized to you folks? Have they ever apologized to our country? They haven't even acknowledged the role in what's taken place, or rather what took place. To me, it's just not enough that they're going to send money to the United States or whatever they've done. F-35s? Now, Turkey wants F-35s. There's enormously advanced technology in these jets. And so I'm just wondering, look, what do I know? I'm just wondering why is it that Saudi Arabia is able to get F-35s? I mean, we do have other advanced jets, not as advanced as the F-35s, which we do sell them. But what do they want F-35s for, and what do they need F-35s for? Are they going to war with somebody, Mr. Producer? Exactly who is threatening Saudi Arabia? Who is threatening Saudi Arabia? Iran's not threatening Saudi Arabia today because the Israelis took care of Saudi Arabia. Iran's not threatening Saudi Arabia with nukes, not that it ever did, because we took care of the nukes. Now, you may not know this, but Qatar and Saudi Arabia hate each other's guts. They despise each other because Qatar is the biggest funder of terrorism, including efforts in the past to overthrow the monarchy in Saudi Arabia through the Houthis in particular, but more than that. So what do you make of that? So F-35s for Saudi Arabia. We'll see who else gets F-35s. I don't know who else. And you hear absolutely nothing from Congress. It's very weird. Very weird. I remember the whole AWACS debate years ago, whether Saudi Arabia should get those. I think the argument was no, and these were, and are, cutting-edge intelligence-gathering aircraft. I don't think they got them. Maybe they did. But I just feel like because, I've been broadcasting on WABC in New York since I started doing this on Sundays, and then weekdays, and then syndicated. And I know the people of New York, and I know the people of New York are not inured with the Saudis, and I just feel like they're never consulted. Same with the families who lost lives at the Pentagon. Same with the families who lost lives in central Pennsylvania. And the media aren't running and asking them for their opinion either. About Qatar, which gave safe haven to KSM, who could later launch his attacks on the World Trade Center on 9/11. So, I don't know, this just seems... I'm not thrilled about it. I haven't been talking to anybody. I don't know the administration's position and so forth. I'm just giving my opinion. I don't know what Saudi Arabia is defending themselves from exactly. Who is their enemy and who are they defending themselves from? The other thing is the president wants them in the Abraham Accords. Maybe there's some link there that they've agreed to go into the Abraham Accords in exchange for F-35. I don't know. But if that's the case, we haven't heard that. I don't believe. I haven't. Well, there you have that. And I believe the president's having they're not calling it a state dinner, but a dinner like a state dinner for the Crown Prince. And I don't think it's tonight, the next night or two. When is it? Tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. And from what I hear, everybody wants to be there. Everybody wants to get in there and so forth. Except me. I have no interest whatsoever. I have no interest at all. And by the way, not that I would be welcomed by the Saudis. You understand. There are some broadcasters and podcasters who would be. No question. I'm not one of them. Ladies and gentlemen, it looks to me like the fix is in on this Comey case. And by that I mean really from the first moment, this federal judge there has really thrown obstacles in the way, has spent so much time, so many of the days berating the prosecution and so forth and so on. It just looks, questioning the constitutionality of the prosecutor, questioning the nature of the case, making available and releasing grand jury information. I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen anything like this. Comey is so locked into this community, the legal community, in and around Washington and in and around New York City. It just seems so outrageous to me that the judge is not judging. There's two, like I said, the magistrate judge and the judge. They're really not judging, in my opinion. They're laying the foundation to kill the case. And they're making it extremely difficult to prosecute the case. I remember seeing this with the case involving Ted Stevens years ago, the senator who died tragically with others in a plane crash in Alaska. Initially, this Judge Sullivan was all for the prosecution until they realized that the prosecution had actually manufactured evidence and withheld information. Then the judge turned on the prosecution and so forth, and that was exposed. The problem was the senator lost his re-election effort because of all of it. I don't think this judge or this magistrate judge are going to correct course or do anything of the kind. I think they're just throwing obstacles and making it difficult, very difficult. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. 3811 877 381 3811. Marjorie Taylor Greene on CNN yesterday. She's loved over there now, everywhere. Now she's the victim. Oh, yes. They're all playing this now. My stepson is attacked for an hour by Carlson. I never once went after his kid and never will. And our friend Eric Erickson says, yeah, you really shouldn't do that. That's fine. I didn't hear him when it came to my stepson, though. With all due respect, Eric. JD jumped in. He said, yeah, that's just awful. And he gave a lashing to the independent journalist who did it, a conservative. Okay, fine, but I didn't hear him jump in when it came to my stepson. Leave the kids alone. I've talked to you about this before, and I think we're in agreement. I can tell you, I give my views. I don't check with my kids beforehand. They don't have any control over my views anyway. We all get along great. That's not the point. The point is, we've done this before we had kids, since we had kids who are older kids, and they'll have their views and I have my views, and most of the time they're compatible. Sometimes they don't overlap. So what? But you know the old thing about DNA and blood, and really, your kids should not have to bear the burden of you, the parent. But for a full hour, to bring a guest on, I think the guy's Palestinian out of the State Department, to trash my kid, and to put his photo up there, and not to hear squat that was inappropriate from these same people, really makes me sick to my stomach. Not squat from Megyn Kelly, who now I think may have destroyed herself. She's fighting like hell to prevent it. I understand that, but the things she said were so horrendous about aging, about ages, and pedophiles and so forth. Just so. I mean, I was thinking, where the hell is she coming from? How bizarre. But look, everybody else is addressing it. I won't pile on. I don't need to. She took a wrong turn, and she's still doing it, and she really needs to come back. She comes back, that would be a wonderful thing. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, she was on CNN yesterday. Here she is. Cut 15, go.
We have seen these kinds of attacks or
and
criticism.
By the way, Dana Bash and the others just love this. This is why Marjorie Taylor Greene is so contemptible. She knows exactly what she's doing. You know, and I was going at it with her months ago, and she was just pulling out the Jew card from the bottom of the deck, as well as every other thing she could think of. Why doesn't Fox fire him? Why does Fox put up... What does Fox have to do with this? And now notice she's not on Fox. She's all over CNN, and she's MSNBC, and the Sunday shows, and The View, and all the rest. She's a useful idiot. You know, like Kingsinger is a useful idiot. People like that. They use these Republicans or former Republicans to trash Republicans. You know, Rush used to talk about this all the time. This is how they bring them over. And she's a useful idiot to them. So, by the way, so was Carlson. He's a useful idiot to them because he's undermining us. And think about who was platforming her all this time. Right, Mr. Producer? Who was platforming her all the time? Remind me. Help me. Yeah, I know. I want to make sure he's not eating a steak sandwich, you see. You got Carlson. You've got Bowling, believe it or not, Eric Bowling, who used to claim to be my buddy. Clearly not. Oh, yeah, it was every day with him. It was, I'm trying to remember who else. I think it was Kelly. If I'm wrong, I apologize. I think so. Oh, it was bloated Bannon. But what they do is it's repetitive. They just keep bringing each other on, keep talking to each other. Oh, good God. Yeah. And now that the president has helped expose her, none of them bring her on. How come? How come these same podcasters, these same grifters don't bring her on now? Why is that? Anybody tell me? Anyway, go ahead.
We have seen these kinds of attacks or criticism from the president at other people. It's not new. And with respect, I haven't heard you speak out about it until it was directed.
So now she's saying, why aren't you attacking the president more? Now, with respect, Dana Bash, if that is your name, you don't ask Democrats this question, where they use all the worst terms to attack the president and other people all the time. Do you? Even on your network, such as it is. Go ahead.
Dana, I think that's fair criticism. And I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics. It's very bad for our country. And it's been something I've thought about a lot, especially since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, is that I'm only responsible for myself and my own words and actions. And I am committed, and I've been working on this a lot lately, to put down the knives in politics. I really just want...
What do you mean? You're accusing the president of all kinds of stuff right now. Right now. You're accusing the president of all kinds of stuff. You're in a fight with the president. And you started it, and he kept at it, and kept at it, and kept at it, and he responded. And you've done it with other people, too. Laura Loomer. Me, but I'm a big boy. I can handle it, you know. Or anybody who disagreed with her. She'd go at it. She'd pull the knives out. But she's doing it with Trump right now. Still. She's getting threats. Isn't that interesting? Do I ever get threats, Mr. Producer? Oh, yes. Then we have Ana Navarro. Ana Navarro is a grotesque person. She just is. She's very toxic. They love her on The View. Every now and then they'll give her a chair. She's like second tier. She is appalling in 2 languages. Listen to this. Cut 17, go.
The fact that, and it's absolutely true, you know, I can attest to this. When Donald Trump attacks you, it's like the gates of hell open up and every little demon goes through them and comes at you. So, yes, that part is true. Do I think she's afraid? I don't think afraid. And I have said from the beginning that we should give her the benefit of the doubt. It doesn't mean we forget QAnon conspiracies. It doesn't mean we forget Jewish space lasers.
She never said Jewish space lasers. That's an important correction.
It doesn't mean that we forget some, you know, the way she acted at the State of the Union. It doesn't mean that we forget any of that. But it does mean that this is a new Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, it does mean we don't forget any of that stuff, but we embrace her now because she's our poison. Oh, yes. The Yentas on The View. She's our poison. So, of course, we embrace her. We don't forget the rest. But we love what she's doing now. We'll platform her. We'll promote her. She's still trashing Trump. She's saying Trump is creating threats against her. We love this. We're going to keep promoting her. Oh, yeah. No question about it. And she comes from a district, as I've told you before, in Georgia that is heavy, heavy Republican. So we'll see what happens. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know, in all the time I've been supporting Pure Talk, my wireless company, I can honestly say I've never seen an offer like this from them before. Listen to this. Unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data with a 30-gig hotspot. Just $29.95 a month for life. Friends, this is Pure Talk's top-tier plan, normally $65 a month. Now through December 7th, that's it. Just $29.95 a month. You're saving over 50% a month every month for life. Yes, that's on their crazy fast 5G network. But this offer is extremely short-lived. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's Levin for Pure Talk's best unlimited plan. Just $29.95 a month for life. Make the switch in as little as 10 minutes. Keep your phone, keep your number, and start saving with unlimited for life for just $29.95 a month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin to switch to my wireless company, Pure Talk. Taxes and fees not included. Some restrictions apply. See puretalk.com for details. Offer ends December 7, 2025. Let's see here. I'm looking at this. You know, it seems to be the same thing every day, doesn't it, Rich? That is, the Democrat mayors do not want illegal aliens deported. ICE is always under attack. It seems to be, it just repeats itself. In one city from the next, one mayor to the next. It's really, the lawlessness is just unbelievable. It's like becoming ingrained in our country, if you know what I mean. And it's very, very worrisome to me because it's going to be very hard to reverse course. There's a lot of reasons for that. Public schools, colleges and universities, they're brainwashing our kids, they're brainwashing our grandkids. It just becomes very, very difficult to undo this. And with very little pushback right now, as far as I can tell. Senator Amy Klobuchar, now remember, she was known for being one of the worst senators in the Senate in her treatment of staff. And notice how that's all blown off. She's treated like, you know, like none of that's ever gone on, but it did go on. And it's so tiresome, too, because they keep saying how Trump's violating the Constitution. How is he violating the Constitution? Well, somebody tell me what part of the Constitution is he violating? And where does the Supreme Court say that he has? And if the Supreme Court says that he has for this issue or that issue, he complies. So what is it that he's violating? The same Democrats who hate the Constitution have railed against the Constitution, railed against the men who wrote it, ratified it, rail against their symbols, their statues. I mean, here she is. Cut 5, go.
When I look at what's happened, I see a president that appears to not have any bounds. He does not respect the Constitution, and I will note, in the end, Trump does not trump the Constitution.
Clever. This is, again, the Texas Tribune Festival. It's a long festival, Mr. Producer. Go ahead.
He does not really care if members of his own party say to him, oh, man, this health care thing is bad in my state. It's too expensive. He doesn't even want to come to the table and negotiate.
Excuse me. You're such a liar. He cares a hell of a lot more than you people did who created Obamacare, even though you were told over and over and over again it can't work, even though it's destroyed our premiums and our health care system is teetering. We don't need lectures from Democrats ever again about health care because they've blown it through the roof. Go ahead.
Is every single day dominate the news. And he will do that for the most horrible things. You think his party wanted him to pardon George Santos? They didn't like George Santos.
Do you think when Biden pardoned a whole slew of killers and other people, do you think that was okay? You want to compare pardons? Or when Clinton pardoned FALN terrorists, you think that was okay and Obama did too? Just listen to this woman. Go ahead.
But he did it, and it dominated the news for 2 days.
Right. Well, why don't you dominate the news for 2 days? What do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about? How Trump is a dictator, how he violates the Constitution? What do you want to talk about? The East Wing of the White House, like the White House has never had architectural changes in its history when it's had at least a score of them. What do you want to talk about? You guys broke the border. You broke the back of the cops. You broke the back, or you tried to. You tried to break the back of the military. A lot to talk about, you know, Amy, if that is your name. It's appalling. But they say the same thing again and again and again. I'll tell you what, I'm very worried about these midterm elections. I told you that months ago. I'm very worried about it. I'm worried about it for multiple reasons, but we can't win enough votes when people who trash black people, people who trash women, people who trash Asians, people who trash veterans, people who trash Christians, people who trash Jews are not condemned by all Republicans, by all conservative organizations, by all conservative professors, by all conservative radio and TV hosts. We can't win by turning off Americans and not having strong pushback except for a relative handful of us, starting with my microphone. We can't win by doing this. And when I say we're not part of this. We reject it. But it is going to be a problem. And if they take the House, that's the end of the Trump presidency. And trust me when I tell you, there's going to be hell to pay, and we're going to call names out specifically, politicians and non-politicians alike. Because I can only think of what a horrendous disaster it's going to be. It's going to be constant subpoenas and investigations about who owns what and cryptocurrency and the Arabs and this. It's just going to go on and on and on. Media are going to do it as they set the case for the 2028 election. We have a good story to tell, but there are these people who are being treated as our voices, at least in some circles, and the lib media keeps promoting them, of course. But if they're not going to be condemned right out, it's a problem. And I worry about it. I also worry about communist China. Communist China is now threatening Japan. We have an alliance with Japan. Should we not? Should we pretend Japan doesn't exist? Should we not train with Japan? Should we withdraw from Taiwan altogether? Maybe Australia? How about the Philippines? Should we get out of there too? South Korea? We can do that. We can get out of there too. Just turn the entire Pacific, certainly the Southeast Pacific, turn that over to in the East and South China Seas. Just turn those over to Communist China. Who's in favor of that? Raise your hand, please. Raise your hand. Is that America first? Remember what started World War II? Remember who attacked us? Remember where they attacked us? Should we pull in our horns and pretend nothing's going on? Well, I want to tell you what's going on, because China is threatening Japan over and over again, because the new elected leader of Japan, she's tough as hell. And by the way, Michelle, I would vote for somebody like that, just not you. But I'd vote for somebody like the leader of Japan. Tough as hell. And now China is lashing back at her. I'll be right back. You know, in all the time I've been supporting Pure Talk, my wireless company, I can honestly say I've never seen an offer like this from them before. Listen to this. Unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data with a 30 gig hotspot. Just $29.95 a month for life. Friends, this is Pure Talk's top-tier plan, normally $65 a month. Now through December 7th, that's it. Just $29.95 a month. You're saving over 50% a month every month for life. Yes, that's on their crazy fast 5G network. But this offer is extremely short-lived. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's Levin for Pure Talk's best unlimited plan. Just $29.95 a month for life. Make the switch in as little as 10 minutes. Keep your phone, keep your number, and start saving with unlimited for life for just $29.95 a month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin to switch to my wireless company, Pure Talk. Taxes and fees not included. Some restrictions apply. See puretalk.com for details. Offer ends December 7, 2025.
Mark Levin, tough as hell.
That's why I like Mark Levin. And I'm not sure a lot of people like him. He's tough as hell. But I like him. I love him.
Call in now. 877-381-3811.
New York Times aiming to shock Japan. China pushes a wave of reprisals. And since the new Japanese Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, suggested that her country could intervene militarily if China moved to seize Taiwan, Beijing has warned Chinese tourists to stay away from Japan. It's also sent military ships to patrol disputed waters and has threatened to suspend economic and diplomatic exchanges with Tokyo. Why? Because China is going to invade Taiwan. That's why. And Japan knows that they're claiming islands off Japan that have never been Chinese. By the way, Taiwan, formerly Formosa, was never part of the Chinese mainland, ever. They have absolutely no historic claim to that island, none. Just so you know, Zippo. The goal in such a full-throated response seems to be to cow Japan into submission and to show off China's confidence in its superpower status. A post by a blog affiliated with China's state broadcaster declared that China had defeated Japan in World War II when it was much poorer than today. Now we not only have an iron will, but also an iron torrent, the account said, referring to China's military buildup. Actually, China did not defeat Japan. We defeated Japan. Now, in a sign that China's response had triggered serious concern in Tokyo, Japan on Monday dispatched a senior diplomat to Beijing to meet with Chinese officials to discuss the tensions. China is Japan's largest trading partner, as well as one of the biggest sources of tourism in Japan. This is the problem. See, the theory was, let us get China engaged in capitalist activity with the West or nations friendly with the West, and the reverse has happened, which is we and they have become reliant now on China. But the aggressive approach and risks backfiring not only in Japan, where China's response has prompted accusations of bullying, but also in other countries wary of China's attempt at economic coercion and growing assertiveness on the world stage. Chinese diplomat in Japan deleted a social media post in which he had called the Prime Minister of Japan to be beheaded after as you can imagine, the post provoked widespread criticism. Now, the flare began earlier this month after Ms. Takaichi was asked in Japan's parliament about potential survival-threatening situations, which under Japanese law would allow the deployment of military forces. She said that an attempt by China to blockade or seize Taiwan could qualify. Previous prime ministers of Japan had avoided specifying how they would respond if China moved against Taiwan. She later said her comments did not constitute a change in policy, but her comments provoked a furious response from China, which claims Taiwan. See, the whole psychology's changed now. Now everybody is psychologically, conditioned to believe that China's going to invade and there's not a damn thing that can be done about it. Why do we care? It's all the way over there. Who cares? Who cares about Japan? South Korea, Australia, the Philippines, who cares? Obviously, China cares. In recent days, Beijing has also warned Chinese students and tourists about going to Japan. I wish they'd warn about them coming to the United States, don't you, Mr. Producer? And stay out of our schools. Too many spies. Citing unspecified safety risks, on Sunday, China's Coast Guard said that some of its ships were patrolling the waters of islands that Japan controls, but China claims. See, China, even if it invades Taiwan, it's not going to stop there. China is an imperial power now. And a grave threat to the United States. Grave threat. And the isolationists, the neo-fascists, they're probably very impressed with Xi and Communist China and probably don't want us to prepare. You know, they're the quislings. They're the weak underbelly of the country. They just are. Now, the reprisals continued Monday, and that goes on. Torrent of editorials, Chinese state media. So they got a full court press going on against Japan. Some hawkish analysts within China were calling for an even stronger response, including halting exports of rare earths to Japan. We're all susceptible to blackmail now. It's awful. Weaponizing rare earths in particular could prompt concerns far beyond Japan. Beijing's threats to limit such exports during its trade negotiations with the United States and Europe have prompted many countries to try and limit their dependence on China. We damn well better limit our dependence on China. The Democrats and the left have made it very difficult for us to explore our own rare earth materials and minerals. Now, one nationalist voice in China, Victor Gao, the vice president of the Center for China and Globalization, a Beijing-based think tank, said a strong response from China was necessary to shock Japan. All right, there you go. So they're rattling. Why is that any of our business, Mr. Producer? Why? I'm just asking questions. Why do we care? We're not attacked. We're not threatened. Yeah, that'll never happen, America. It's never happened before, has it? And why would allies come and help us if we don't provide them with some level of support? Well, just asking. No, you're not just asking. It's moronic, as a matter of fact. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know, in all the time I've been supporting Pure Talk, my wireless company, I can honestly say I've never seen an offer like this from them before. Listen to this. Unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data with a 30-gig hotspot. Just $29.95 a month for life. Friends, this is Pure Talk's top-tier plan, normally $65 a month. Now through December 7th, that's it. Just $29.95 a month. You're saving over 50% a month every month for life. Yes, that's on their crazy fast 5G network. But this offer is extremely short-lived. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's Levin for Pure Talk's best unlimited plan. Just $29.95 a month for life. Make the switch in as little as 10 minutes. Keep your phone, keep your number, and start saving with unlimited for life for just $29.95 a month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin to switch to my wireless company, Pure Talk. Taxes and fees not included. Some restrictions apply. See puretalk.com for details. Offer ends December 7, 2025. Chris Murphy, you know what? I don't even want to deal with him. How's this guy on TV all the time? We've tried to get him on, haven't we, Mr. Producer, or no? Nothing from him? I don't know. I'd really like to never mind. David French, writing on the New York Times. He was on the Morning Schmo today. You folks may remember him. He has trashed Trump for a long time. Didn't he run for president or was thinking of running for president against Trump? I don't remember. He has something very profound he wants to share with you. They won't hear it on the Morning Joe show, but I'll amplify it and then I'll address it. Cut 20, go.
A controlled flow of immigration is an important reality. However, If somebody is here suspected to be here illegally or here illegally, they're still entitled to be treated with decency and humanity. I mean, they still have human rights. And this is the thing that is so frustrating to people, is they understand that, yes, we need border enforcement. We absolutely need to control our border. But at the same time, controlling our border does not mean brutalizing people and depriving them of their human rights. We're living through an era, honestly, we're going to look back on with national shame the way people are treating. And the reports of conditions in detention facilities are continuing to come out. There have been reports from the CCOT facility.
That's enough. That's enough. He's spewing the left-wing line. Who caused all this? Oh, well, let's get beyond that now. We're talking about treating everybody as human beings. We do treat everybody as human beings. You got people who've come here multiple times. They've been deported, they come back. Deported, they come back. Who doesn't treat people like human beings? The Democrats. The border was wide open. Women were being raped, sold into sex slavery. Some of them, Megyn Kelly, were 15, 16 years old, as a matter of fact. That's right. You've got hundreds of thousands of unaccompanied minors missing. This administration is now going to work overtime and is working overtime to try and find them. God knows what's happened to these young kids and what's being done to them. So if you really want to talk about, if you do, treating people like human beings, I agree with you. But why don't you talk about why we are where we are? And the process would be a lot smoother if the Democrats would help us enforce the immigration law like they're supposed to, rather than, we're a sanctuary city, you can't. Oh, shut up, you moron. Yes, we can. Here's the problem. It's never going to be a good look, okay, when people have been here for several years illegally, even 2, 3 years, and they refuse to leave, and you have to forcibly apprehend them to remove them. So that's never going to be a good look, because people are going to say, oh, my God, what's happening there? That doesn't mean they're not treated humanely. It means they can't stay. And the problem is, if it ever becomes the rule, or the law, God forbid, that people can come in by the tens of millions and stay, you're going to lose America. You're going to lose the country. Because, number one, we don't even assimilate people. And number two, we're bringing people into this country who do not want to be assimilated, who are bringing ideologies and cultures and so forth that are absolutely incompatible with ours. And you don't need to theorize about this. England, France, these other European countries are about 7, 8 years ahead of us. And if Donald Trump wasn't elected president, they'd be 2 or 3 years ahead of us. That's it. And you can never reverse course. Why? Because the way our voting system is interpreted with, birthright citizenship, and you can vote here, you're going to be legalized here, backdoor amnesty here. You saw what just happened in New York City. The country's over. I'm not the first to point this out. You've had professors point it out. You've had politicians point it out, Republican and Democrat. But I am the one that keeps bringing it up because I'm very worried about it. The country's changing before our eyes. And by that, I don't mean, look at this, we have immigrants. That's not what I'm talking about. The culture's changing. The values are changing. The electorate's changing. And listen to what Kerr says. And listen to what Sarsour says. And listen to what Mondami says. And listen to what these imams say. It's no joke. And listen to what Bernie Sanders says and the other Marxists say. I'm just listening to what they say, watching what they're doing, where they have power in these cities and other places. They're effectuating these changes. Where they have power in London and throughout England, they're effectuating these changes. And they're not good. They're not good. They're a throwback to the 7th century. And for the Marxists, they don't care. As long as the West is destroyed, as long as our country is destroyed, they'll figure it all out later. After the Russian Revolution, you know what Lenin said? Lenin said, Marx tells us how to conduct a revolution and why to conduct a revolution, but he doesn't tell us what to do afterward. And now we see what they do afterward, don't they? The inhumanity is unbelievable. So my advice to David French, pay attention to what's going on in Europe, pay attention to what's going on in many of our cities, and the inhumanity is being conducted by those who created these conditions in the first place. And the fact that this administration is trying to enforce immigration laws against a Democrat Party that is nullifying federal law, that is nullifying our Constitution and the Supremacy Clause, that wants massive change in our country, but not the old-fashioned way, but through, revolution by immigration. That's the problem. That's the problem. So it may not be the prettiest look in the world when you're trying to remove people who refuse to leave, but it's not a very pretty look when you open the border and what takes place in this country, which is horrendous. The Power Hour is next. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. Our friend Joel Pollack over at Breitbart. Both he and Breitbart, Alex over there, they're fantastic. They've really done a great job over there. He posted this, and I want to read it to you. April 27, 2016, President Donald Trump's foreign policy speech on what America First means. Because it's important we understand where Donald Trump stands as opposed to people who claim America First and MAGA. April 27, 2019, the President says, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. This is before he's president. And thank you to the Center for the National Interest for honoring me with this invitation. I would like to talk today about how to develop a new foreign policy direction for our country, one that replaces randomness with purpose, ideology with strategy, and chaos with peace. It's time to shake the rust off of America's foreign policy. It's time to invite new voices and new visions into the fold. The direction I will outline today will also return us to a timeless principle. My foreign policy will always put the interests of the American people and American security above all else. That will be the foundation of every decision that I will make. America First will be the major and overriding theme of my administration. But to chart our path, we must first briefly look back. We have a lot to be proud of. In the 1940s, we saved the world. The greatest generation beat back the Nazis and the Japanese imperialists. Then we saved the world again, this time from totalitarian communism. The Cold War lasted for decades, but we won. Democrats and Republicans working together got Mr. Gorbachev to heed the words of President Reagan when he said, tear down this wall. History will not forget what we did. Unfortunately, after the Cold War, our foreign policy veered badly off course. Donald Trump candidate said we failed to develop a new vision for a new time. In fact, as time went on, our foreign policy began to make less and less sense. Logic was replaced with foolishness and arrogance. This led to one foreign policy disaster after another. We went from mistakes in Iraq to Egypt to Libya to President Obama's line in the sand in Syria. Each of these actions had helped to throw the region into chaos. Gave ISIS the space it needs to grow and prosper. It all began with the dangerous idea that we could make Western democracies out of countries that had no experience or interest in becoming a Western democracy. We tore up what institutions they had and then were surprised at what was unleashed. Civil war, religious fanaticism, thousands of American lives, many trillions of dollars were lost as a result. The vacuum was created that ISIS would fill. Iran, too, would rush in and fill the void, much to their unjust enrichment. Our foreign policy is a complete and total disaster. Remember, he's trashing Obama here. No vision, no purpose, no direction, no strategy. Totally, I want to identify 5 main weaknesses in our foreign policy. First, our resources are overextended. President Obama has weakened our military by weakening our economy. He's crippled us with wasteful spending, massive debt, low growth, a huge trade deficit, and open borders. Our manufacturing trade deficit with the world is now approaching $1 trillion a year. We're rebuilding other countries while weakening our own. Second, our allies are not paying their fair share. And he talks about NATO at some length. Thirdly, our friends are beginning to think they can't depend on us. We had a president who dislikes our friends and bows to our enemies. He negotiated a disastrous deal with Iran, and then we watched them ignore its terms, even before the ink was dry. Now, I should tell you, as I've told you before, when I was in New Jersey with a group of people and the President of the United States, to my stunning surprise, he told us to go downstairs to, I guess, the basement, where he was taping on a Sunday, a video to be released on Monday where he signed the withdrawal from the Obama-Iran deal and called me over and handed me the pen. This has always been Trump's position, that Iran is a dangerous country and they were never going to get nukes, always, from day one, even before he was elected president the first time. Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. This is April 2016. And under a Trump administration, will never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. And so when the president carried that out, ladies and gentlemen, the fake MAGA crowd, the isolationists, the neo-fascists, they went crazy because they feel an alliance with Iran and these other genocidal regimes that Trump has never felt. He may build alliances with Qatar and Saudi Arabia and so forth, but not the kind of an ideological attachment that the Carlsons and their ilk have. And so when President Trump decided to take out their nuclear sites, it wasn't because of the Jews, it wasn't because of Israel, it wasn't because of me. It's because this has always been his position. Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon, and under a Trump administration will never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. All of this without even mentioning the humiliation of the United States with Iran's treatment of our 10 captured sailors. In negotiation, you must be willing to walk. The Iran deal, like so many of our worst agreements, is the result of not being willing to leave the table. When the other side knows you're not going to walk, it becomes absolutely impossible to win. At the same time, your friends need to know that you will stick by the agreements that you have with them. President Obama gutted our missile defense program, then abandoned our missile defense plans with Poland and the Czech Republic. He supported the ouster of a friendly regime in Egypt that had a long-standing peace treaty with Israel and helped bring the Muslim Brotherhood to power in its place. Israel, our great friend and the one true democracy in the Middle East, has been snubbed and criticized by an administration, the Obama administration, that lacks moral clarity. Just a few days ago, Vice President Biden again criticized Israel, a force for justice and peace, for acting as an impediment to peace in the region. President Obama has not been a friend to Israel. He's treated Iran with tender love and care and made it a great power in the Middle East, all at the expense of Israel, our other allies in the region, and critically, the United States. Boy, he sounds like a neocon there, doesn't he, Mr. Producer? Sounds like a Jew who wants to drag us into war. No, none of that has ever been the case. These people are nuts. And I will continue to expose them as long as I have a voice. This has always been President Trump's position. He didn't need my advice. There was no lobbying on my behalf, or by me, I should say. None. He's asked me my opinion from time to time, and I've given it to him. That's it. And even if I did lobby him, so what? But I didn't. So all this Jew conspiracy, Israel conspiracy, Netanyahu conspiracy, these are Trump's words in April 2016. Our friend Joe Pollack reminds us. We've picked fights with our oldest friends, and now they're starting to look elsewhere for help. And he went on. He said, since the end of the Cold War and the breakup of the Soviet Union, we've lacked a coherent foreign policy. And he goes on about that, too. Nothing in contradiction to anything I've said before. He says we need a long-term plan to halt the spread and reach of radical Islam. Containing the spread of radical Islam must be a major foreign policy goal of the United States, he said. Events may require the use of military force, but it's also a philosophical struggle, like our long struggle in the Cold War. In this, we're going to be working very closely with our allies in the Muslim world, all of which are at risk from radical Islamic violence. We should work together with any nation in the region that is threatened by the rise of radical Islam. But this has to be a two-way street. They must also be good to us and remember us and all we are doing for them. The struggle against radical Islam also takes place in our homeland. There are scores of recent migrants inside our borders charged with terrorism. For every case known to the public, there are dozens more. We must stop importing extremism through senseless immigration policies. A pause for reassessment will help us prevent the next San Bernardino or worse. All you have to do is look at the World Trade Center on September 11. And then there's ISIS. I have a simple message for them. Their days are numbered. I won't tell them where. I won't tell them how. We must, as a nation, be more unpredictable, but they're going to be gone, and soon. These are the positions of the president as he stated them 9.5 years ago. 9.5 years ago. I just thought I'd share that with you. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Are we selling F-35s to Taiwan? Why aren't we? It seems to me those are superior jets and they need them. I don't know why Saudi Arabia needs them. They don't have any enemies that I'm aware of. Certainly no enemies with an air force that can hurt them. I'm quite serious about this. What about Taiwan? Here's Reuters. The U.S. approved the possible sale to Taiwan of fighter jet spare and repair parts for $330 million, the Pentagon said last week, making the first such potential transaction since President Trump took office in January. So we're selling them the parts for their jets. The proposed sale will improve the recipient's capability to meet current and future threats by maintaining the operational readiness of the recipient's fleet of F-16, C-130, and other aircraft, the Pentagon said in a statement. So why aren't F-16s good enough for Saudi Arabia that has no immediate threat on their border? But we're only doing parts to Taiwan. China claims democratically governed Taiwan as its own territory, as I told you earlier in the program. Formosa, as it used to be called, was never part of mainland China, ever. And has not ruled out the use of force to take control of the island. No, I think they will use force. I think they're going to surround it, try and choke it off economically. They dare us to provide supplies, whether they're supplies for human sustenance or military supplies and so forth. And it'll be very difficult to penetrate that without a war. And it seems to me now's the time to really break from China with these rare earth minerals and other things, whether it's medicines and so forth. I mean, we really ought to be having, in my view, a Manhattan-type project for rare earth minerals and go right down the list of what it is that we rely on for China, from China, and make sure that we don't have to rely on China. I mean, that's my advice for what it's worth, 2 cents. China claims democratically governed Taiwan as its own territory. Taiwan's government strongly objects to Beijing's sovereignty claims and says only Taiwan's people can decide their future. Well, of course, as I said. I mean, this is a democratic country, and nobody's even allowed to call it a country. Trump says Chinese President Xi has told him he will not invade Taiwan while the Republican leader is in office, which is great, but it's not enough. I mean, it's not enough for the Taiwanese. It shouldn't be enough for us either. It's not enough for Japan and Australia and South Korea and the Philippines. And by the way, Vietnam too, all of which are being threatened by China. Their islands are being threatened. Their navigable waters that belong to them are being threatened. China's not going to settle on just Taiwan. They didn't settle on just Hong Kong, did they? Xi views himself as an empire builder, as emperors from 1,000 years ago. The announcement of the possible arms sale, it's not an arms sale. It sounds to me like it's a parts sale. It comes after Trump and Xi met last month in South Korea. So I suspect what's going to happen is Xi will go through the motions of really pounding his fist on the table. We will sell him these things. That is Taiwan. We will sell them these things. But we will not provide them with new jets like we are Saudi Arabia and so forth. And that was probably the deal that was made, Mr. Producer. I'm just guessing. Just guessing. Boy, it sure pays to have money as a country, I'll tell you that. I mean, lots of it. Because everybody wants you as an ally. Everybody wants relations with you. And I'm just saying. It seems that way to me. We have a judge who's ordered the release of 600 Chicago illegal immigrants. Based on what? This is the problem. It's not discussed on the Morning Schmo show. David French. I mean, judges running the damn country. That's pretty bad, I would say. And it's totally out of control. And yet there we go again. It's not new with the election of Donald Trump. It's just constant. You got some big decisions sitting there in the Supreme Court, and I'm worried about them. They need to make the right decision, but in order to make the right decision, here's two of them. The birthright citizenship. The Democrats are already threatening violence in the streets. And they've already, after the Dobbs decisions, made it clear to these justices that they know where they live and they're going to hound them and so forth. These are third world intimidation tactics. It's appalling. And Merrick Garland didn't do anything to arrest a soul. Nothing. Purposeful. So now justices literally have to worry about their home life and worse as a result of what the Democrats and their street militia do. And then there's the tariff case. If the judges rule, in my view, the right way, the justices, they will be attacked as being toadies for Trump. And you can even see some people writing who really don't know their ass from a hole in the ground on these things, but they pretend they do because they write at length and they write often. Because the justices will be concerned that they're going to be accused of, just being toadies for Trump because he's won so many cases there, and he should have won so many cases there, given the nature of the lower court decisions and the kinds of cases that have been brought at the litigation level, and the kind of cleanup the Supreme Court's had to do. So I think that's going to be weighing on their minds. And so while the president, the administration have won some important cases, mostly sort of middle important cases, let me put it that way, these big ones I worry about. Again, not because of the president's position on the Constitution, but because, a Roberts, a Barrett, even perhaps a Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, they might say, well, on this one, we're going to have to throw in with the left. But we'll write the decision so we don't make it as painful. Roberts will write it or somebody like that. I'm worried about this. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin, America's tyranny hunter. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
Oh, yeah. Uh-oh. Okay, there we are, Mr. Boyd. Let's give this a shot. Let's see what we've got here. We jump into the gene pool. Bob, Nokomis, Florida. Where is Nokomis, Florida, Bob?
It's just east of Venice, Florida, just south of Sarasota, Mark.
Ah, okay. How are you?
We're on the Gulf of America's side.
Yeah, you've got whacked pretty good over the years there, I'm afraid.
Absolutely. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Was zoning in on the blue states, which have claimed sanctuary status, both local, state, and region. And I'm wondering, along with birthright citizenship, why isn't this being legally challenged in a significant way? There is no such thing under our Constitution.
No, you're right. And you know what? I'm at a loss to tell you why. Because it seems to me one of the legal things you would do when you're fighting these bums in court, what they're doing, and when they bring a lawsuit like Newscomb and the rest, is you go and you say, number one, they're violating the federal Constitution. They can't nullify federal immigration law and go through the, litany of things we've discussed here. I don't know why, but I think the fact that you've brought it up, so many people are listening to the program, particularly, people who are who've got power out there. I got to believe they're listening to this because it's a great point. Why wouldn't you challenge fundamentally their violation of the Constitution? I'm with you.
Yeah, it takes the legs out from their argument completely. It's just not there.
I agree with you.
We need to really go for the jugular on this one.
Mm-hmm. All right, Bob. Good call, buddy. Take care. Let's try Anthony, Fort Hood, Texas, XM Satellite. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. How you doing? Okay, listen, it's unfortunate, but the Jews are being treated now like they did just before the Holocaust. And people don't understand that. Some time back on your TV show, you talked about these idiots. These people need to see what happened on October 7th. I know it's gross. I know it is sickening. It's not probably. They need to see stuff like that so they never forget that if it happened before, and the Jews will not let it happen again, it could happen again. And to make things real poignant, in 2010 there was a DVD came out called Death Mills, Nazi concentration camps, right? And I know you talked about on your show that Eisenhower got sick. Pat and everybody was sick to their stomach when they went in and seen all the bodies. People don't know that Eisenhower took the families, the friends, and everybody, all the people that are around them concentration camps, and took them in there and let them see and say, here, for all those years you smelled it, you heard it, you knew what was going on, and that's what you get right there. That's what the Nazis did, and they got sick to their stomach, and people need to see
Good for you. Good for you. But here's the thing. I don't think Hamas, I don't think those Palestinians would give a damn. But I do think it's been a grave error by the media, maybe intentional, not to at least provide that video. There's one in particular, but there's others, and make them available to anybody who would want to see them. They could say only for adults and so forth and so on, because Eisenhower wanted the world to see. And apparently we don't want the world to see what happened on October 7th. The president has seen it. He has repeatedly referenced it. But what happened on October 7th? What happened on October 7th? But our media, and most of the Western media, being fed by Hamas and Al Jazeera, which is owned by Qatar and so forth, they haven't looked at it. And they're not going to look at it. They're going to continue to push their narrative and project their ideological views. But if just 1 hour on network TV or cable TV with an appropriate host explaining what you're about to see. If you don't want to see it, don't look. Is what took place on October 7th. People would be shocked to the core. Shocked to the core. No amount of propaganda by CARE, by Hamas, by Tucker Carlson, by Megyn Kelly, by Fuentes or the rest could change what people see and saw. None. And one of the reasons I did the program on Fox that I did on Sunday with the monologue and quoted Eisenhower and Churchill and others was because there's a lot of young people in this country who are really unfamiliar with what took place. They're being told the most grotesque forms of lies from the very people I just mentioned. And then when you call them out, they say they're not. They are. They're on record. They're on video. They're on audio. They push it out, and they are. And they're platforming deniers, and they're platforming people who are rewriting history. Exactly what Dwight Eisenhower feared, exactly what Churchill feared. And if I'm one of only one or a handful that intends to carry forward the information, then so be it. But it's really shocking to me how little of what took place on October 7th has been actually shown. And I mean, they come up with fake photos to try and condemn the Israelis for committing starvation and acts of genocide in Gaza. They have nothing, absolutely zero, but Hamas numbers. And in terms of genocide, which has an actual definition and meaning. But on October 7th, they're not going to show it. It's unbelievable. That is the grave era of our generation when it comes to this issue. I want to thank you for your fabulous call, my friend. Just fantastic. And I appreciate Anthony, appreciate Bob. Really, really good calls. And let's see here. One moment. I got to clean my screen off here of everything that's taking place. Sheldon Whitehouse. This guy's a complete loser. You're familiar with him from Rhode Island. By the way, I have to say this, not to upset people, but Rhode Island must have the best, I don't know, like fish and shrimp. The whole, honestly, all of New England, Massachusetts, Maine. It's unbelievable. Why am I thinking about this? I don't even eat that much fish or shrimp or the rest of it, but when I do, I want it to be good. And in Florida, it's unbelievable, too. There used to be a restaurant not too far from where we are, and it was called Flashpoint. And we became very, very good friends with the owners, Bob and Anita, but they sold it. But when they had it, man, I couldn't wait to go into that restaurant to get grouper. Now, you may laugh at this, folks. I never ate grouper till I went to Florida. I didn't know what the hell grouper was because I wasn't a big fish eater. But my God, I would go there and they would make it any way I want, with whatever I wanted with it. I just can't find a place like that. Now, I have to admit, I haven't looked that hard, Mr. Producer. But they were fantastic, fantastic. Down memory lane we go. And they were great. Anyway, so here's Sheldon Whitehouse at the China Pavilion at the UN Climate Change Conference in Brazil. He's at the Communist Chinese Pavilion at the UN Climate Change Conference. That's strike 2 in Brazil, which is now run by a commie. That's strike 3. And he's upset, you see, that Trump isn't there and that he hasn't sent a phalanx of the usual fools to go to these things. And it isn't amazing to you how quickly climate change has fallen off the edge of the earth? Isn't it amazing? Go ahead. Cut 21, please. Go.
Well, I'm here at the COP, and as you can see, I'm at the China Pavilion. And China has a very big presence here. The whole world is here. Over here are the Saudi Arabians. And China is kind of at the main intersection. I can't really think of any country that isn't represented here, except, of course, us. I am the entirety of the United States.
Shut up, you idiot. You're the entirety of the United States. What does that tell you? You don't even have any Democrat senators with you. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Richard Samantha, take a bow, babe. When is your birthday, by the way? I don't remember. When is your birthday again? May 6th. All right, that's a long way away. But he's a good man. Mr. Call Screener. Who's Mr. Call Screener today? Tom Today? Tom Today, that's a weird name. Tom, you're doing a great job, by the way. I want to thank you. Tom's doing a great job. All right, let's look at this here. Okay, there's that. I'm sick of the news, though. I'm sick of the news. Did you guys like the shows I did over the weekend on Life, Liberty, and Levin? Particularly the emphasis on Dwight Eisenhower, what a great man he was. He was a great man. Today they'd say he's a right-wing nut, because he had Operation, I'm not calling it this, they did, Operation Wetback, which is a terrible pejorative, but nonetheless, that's what they called it historically, where he literally rounded up 1 million people and removed them from the United States in a 6-month period of time. Can you imagine what they'd be saying about him today if he had done it? And by the way, he did it with the military. He put out a military order. I want the Supreme Court to understand these things. What Trump's doing with tariffs, people try to say is, we've never done anything like this before. What he's trying to do in terms of deportation, they say it's never been done before. His fight over birthright citizenship is an absolutely legitimate battle, given the fact that its history is concocted. He follows the Constitution. He does not violate the Constitution. And if a Supreme Court rules a certain way, he abides by it. It's that simple. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers, men and women in Ukraine, the men and women in Israel. I don't want to thank you patriots out there, for holding firm to your principles. You're not buying off on all the weird stuff. And I'll see you tomorrow.